Hello and welcome to SweetSpotDFS. This is a preview for the 2020 The American Express. It's not an open, it's not a challenge, it's not an invite, it's a Pro-Am, but it doesn't have Pro-Am in it. The tournament is called The American Express, and I know other people make fun of it. It's worthy enough to be made fun of. Before I get into any of what I discussed in the show, I do want to remind you guys, watch the show in 1.5 times speed. I have a slower delivery. This way, you'll get through it quicker. It won't sound weird. Trust me, because I listen to myself at 1.5 speed. Can't stand just the long drawn out. And you're probably going to see that the show's going to run long. I have a very interesting way to make lineups. It's going to piggyback a little bit off of last week's lineups or lineup construction, but I just wanted you guys to know it's going to get weird. It's going to be, the lineup construction might even be an hour's worth. So before you guys get, frightened about it or scared about it, if you just want to watch, the meat of it, I will show you the show index. I'll go over course information. We'll go over course history, recent form, swing stats, Pete Dye stats, and then we'll get into lineup construction. And I'll have all the timestamps below. I'm getting better at that. So you can just jump around to wherever you like to go. But yeah, I'm going to try to keep it as objective as possible. Just reading stats, going through the best plays. You can see some of the stats down below. I just have the Pete Dye stats going across the board. I don't really have anything to talk about with swing stats or anything like that. One other thing too, I used to live in this area. I actually have my Weston Mission Hills polo on right now. I've got a couple of them, but figured I'd represent as we go through this. It's an interesting area. Might as well go through the course information. They're gonna be playing at 3 golf courses: PGA West, the stadium course that is, because they have the Nicklaus Tournament course in the PGA West complex, and then La Quinta Country Club, which is a smaller, it's a small golf course. It'll be all green. I don't think this one goes dormant, but you can see below, I have PGA West is played twice, and then it's dormant Bermuda plus overseed ryegrass greens. So the overseed rye is on the Bermuda. Like, there are no characteristics of Bermuda at all. I've played at the Nicklaus Tournament course. Oh, no. It wasn't that one. It was a course right next to it. I'm sorry. But anything that's Bermuda in the desert isn't Bermuda. Not yet. It's too cold. The nights get way too cold for Bermuda. So it'll be a ryegrass, and I'll tell you what, the Bermuda has no effect whatsoever. So if you're looking at Bermuda stats, stop doing it. It's just not relative. Each of these golf courses are par 72. They're around 7,100 yards. The PGA West course will be played twice. Put it this way. You guys will probably already know this, but if you don't, each player will play 3 rounds of golf. There's only a total of 4, and on typical golf tournaments, PGA tournaments that is, you have 2 rounds of golf, then a cut, and then those who make the cut play 2 more rounds. Well, this time there are 3 rounds of golf, a cut, and then a 4th round. So 2 of those rounds will be played at PGA West because the Sunday round will be there, or PGA West Stadium course, sorry. And with there being 3 days before the cut, 3 rounds of golf before the cut, I have seen lineups in the past actually cash money with players missing the cut. And I say players because I've seen 2 players to miss the cut, but end up the player that had that lineup make money. Not a lot of money, obviously, but still, you can cash with, I wouldn't say any more than 2 players missing the cut, but it's doable. So yeah, that's all I wanted to go over with course information. We can get straight into the spreadsheet and go over the course information, or course history, sorry. So I have it pulled up. We have it's sorted by average, and I only have golfers that are playing. As you can see, we have a bunch of golfers who've only played it once at the top. If we continue going down here, we'll see Nate Lashley. Not bad for his price. It's pretty decent. We have Siwoo Kim. Again, not bad. Decent for his price. He's actually, I think, a wild card for this tournament. I think he has the potential to do well. Charles Hall III does pretty well here. I actually remember following him for this tournament about, gosh, I was there in like 2011, I think, and it was abysmal. I mean, even Matt Kuchar was doing terrible when I was watching him. It was weird to watch these guys not be able to put a chip within like a foot, like at the La Quinta Country Club, because it looks so easy. And it is the easier of the golf courses, so that's something to bring up. Especially for you guys doing showdown slates. I don't typically do showdowns, but if you are going to do showdowns, target La Quinta, target the Nicklaus tournament course. The stadium course by far is the hardest one, so pay attention to that. Really, I'd say Phil is probably the only golfer that I like, and he has probably the best course history if you take away his missed cut. But of course he had a missed cut, so it is, you just can't take that away. I really don't like anyone based off of course history, and as you can see, there aren't many. If we were to take away events 0 and 1 and just go 2 and on, like, it just doesn't, nothing really jumps off the board. And it isn't so much course history, this is tournament history, because this tournament has always been multiple golf courses, hasn't just been one that they play over and over and over again. So course history, tournament history, I'm just gonna leave it alone. We'll go straight into the recent form. Recent form, now there were only really 2 tournaments that we can look at for recent form. These ones here I just have because they were the last events, but in all honesty, if you watch the preview video for the last tournament, these tournaments are non-existent. I mean, they were 8 weeks ago, so 8 weeks ago was the RSM Classic, 9 weeks ago was OHL. That's too far to look back for recent form. Really what I should have done is just average out these 2 for recent form. But it is worthy of knowing that a decent finish at the Hawaii golf courses usually represents something decent here. And let's go through them. So let's go through 2019 recent form. You got 2 golfers here finished inside the top 20 at one of the Hawaii golf courses. But you have a lot of missed cuts, and you're going to see that quite a bit. One other thing to look at is course history. Adam Long obviously didn't have any last year. And again, course history should be tournament history, but just roll with me on this one. But everyone else inside the top 10 had tournament history. Again, as we go to 2018, you also have tournament history. 1 golfer who did not. Again, we have missed cuts the week before. And 1 top 20 at one of the Hawaii courses. So that one isn't so much a trend, although now I say that we see a couple here. Another miscut. Again, course history. Definitely want to keep that course history thing in the back of your head, because at most tournaments you're going to see that any course history matters, or any tournament history matters. Not so much like having good course history or tournament history, just having some, being here before, playing this tournament before. And we'll get into the buckets of last year and last week. Let's go through 2016. Again, look at that course history. Now we're not getting as many missed cuts, we're getting more top 20s. So again, that's something to look at. Now we're kind of getting into the I can't think of a different word than territory. We have 2015, 2014, 2013. That's as far back as my stats go. So 2013 is going to be your starting point. But to see that many guys with course history here is telling in a way. I believe this is S.J. Park, and I think he's played here before, but my data has two different names. But either way, not a big deal. I just wanted to point out that there was possibility that he had course history. Yeah, again, top 20s at one of the Hawaii tournaments and a couple missed cuts. 2014, don't really have too many missed cuts here in the top 10. I mean, we don't at all. More top 20s at one of the Hawaii courses. And again, like, that's all the year before. So you had two golfers who did not, but we can assume Chad Collins, since he's an older golfer, had played there before. Brennan Todd, maybe. This might also have been his rookie year. I don't know. And then 2013, missed cut, top 20, top 20. So it's definitely something to look into. So that's what I wanted to mention for recent stats, or I should say recent form. Now we'll get into the swing stats. So we'll go ahead and get to the 2020 DK spreadsheet that I have with all this populated information. I'm going to go ahead and hide a lot of this information. Keep up the Pete Dye information or stats, but we'll go through the swing stats. Actually, no, we'll hide the Pete Dye stuff since it's in the way. So now we have all of our stats here. We'll go through top 10 of each one of them. I didn't create a player profile or a player sheet like I did last week, which would have looked at the top 10 of each category, and then we would do a count function to find how many of these golfers, like how many times they finished inside the top 10 for all these stats. Really should have went with that, but forgot to. Really wanted to get the show out on Tuesday, so that's pretty much the reason why. But anyways, here are your top 10 golfers. Not a lot of rounds of golf here. You have more. Here's your, heavier bulk of rounds of golf that match this. So like Carlos Ortiz, Scott Harrington, and Xinjun Zhang, they have actually, better stats to go by. Same with Cameron Champ and Cameron Tringali, just because of how many rounds of golf that they have played. Tony Finau only has 4 rounds of golf, so that's just a tournament. And that number is a whopping number. Like, that's a bit extreme. Alex Noren only has 7 rounds of golf. Harris English has 17, so we're getting a little closer into that range that we like to find a bit more consistency. But yeah, here's your list of the top 10 for TD Green. I'm not gonna name them out. You guys can use YouTube in order to pause, look at that, and figure it out from there. Here we go for off the tee. These are all your typical guys that you would see off the tee. It's no surprise here. Again, though, not a lot of rounds of golf for some of these guys. So I'm not sure how heavy to look at the stats. I'm personally not going to, because it's going to be difficult to figure it out. A lot of this for me is just kind of having it for tracking purposes. Here are your approach stats. Tony Finau's in the lead again. Like, Tony Finau's is pretty high on the list for all these stats. His putting stats look terrible. So maybe it's a chance to get on Tony Finau if you're not. Yeah. Here are your top 10 here. Russell Knox makes the cut this time, or in the top 10. Alex Noren you're seeing a lot, and you're seeing Tony Finau a lot. Definitely worthy plays, I believe. Yeah, for sure. Here you go, the around the green stats. We have Kevin Kisner now in there, but you have Alex Noren as well as Tony Finau. Tony Finau is the top of around the green. It's weird. I don't know what tournament he played in that would have given them that. Maybe the RSM Classic. I'll find him in the recent form. Where were you? Tony Finau. So OHL, perhaps? I really don't know what. Yeah, I pulled it from the PGA website, so I'm not sure what 4 rounds of golf it's being applied from. So regardless, we're just going through all the swing stats. Here's your top 10 for putting. You have Sung Jae in there, Peter Malnati, who's known as for being a good putter. Same with Denny McCarthy and Andrew Putnam and Dominic Bizzelli. They're all stalwarts for putting stats. So definitely, I don't know if I would really write any of them off because of putting. I know there's a lot of people in the golf industry or the DFS industry that just doesn't care about putting stats because it's so volatile and there's so much variety or variability in that. You do with it as you will. I don't go by any of these stats, very heavily. I'll look at some of this. Like I like to look at green and reg just to see how many times they're hitting the green, how many holes they're playing. So, these 2 stats here, Denny McCarthy and Henrik Norlander, super good, especially when you pair it with like a birdie or better percentage. So like Harris English and Denny McCarthy look fantastic. It's interesting. That's very, like, even Denny McCarthy has 135 birdies. So 135 birdies for how many holes he's playing, he's getting like that's 26% of the holes he's playing is birdie or better. It's pretty good, especially for this type of golf course at this venue. Chesson Hadley, I liked him last week. He could not putt. Like his putting was atrocious. It was awful. He had to play with Abraham, or I should say Abraham Answer had to play with him, and Abraham just kind of, oh man, he had to deal with that. Probably didn't help so much. Scotty Scheffler is a good name to state because of his green and reg, birdie or better, and how many birdies he's scoring, and like how many holes he's playing. He looks very consistent, very polished. Tee to green looks amazing. When we get through the bucket system, during lineup construction, you're going to see he fits that mold also. I think he's a great play. I don't care so much about proximity unless there's a ton of holes that you can look at. So Brian Stewart, that looks pretty good, but like the birdie or better is not good at all. And it's weird because like all of his stats look pretty decent. His putting is, it's positive shots gained, but definitely kind of middle of the pack or a little bit lower. That's what this light red color kind of indicates. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with him, but his birdie or better conversion, not very good. Proximity good though. Again, I'd probably, Sung Jae looks phenomenal when you look at all of this stuff. Proximity is good. Birdie or better is good. Total birdies is good. Off the tee is good. Approach is good. Just green and reg isn't the greatest, but still, like all those stats, really good for Sung Jae. So I definitely think about playing Sung Jae quite a bit. Although when we get to the lineup construction, there's a very interesting tidbit there that would suggest not to play him at all. So you'll have to wait and find out to figure that one out. Doc Redman looks good also. A bunch of good stats here. Green and reg, good. Proximity, good. Birdie or better, not so much. But tee to green, pretty decent. So might be worth a play. I think that's about all I'm going to get. I'll bring up Stuart Stink because he's golfing with a player that I like quite a bit. I think them playing together is going to be very helpful for both of them. So I could see Stuart Stink kind of turning it around and playing pretty well. So seeing this information actually changes my mind on Stuart Stink. I wasn't going to play him originally, but I think I will now. Go ahead and look at the birdie or better. Here's your top 10. Stu Cink actually makes the top 10 for birdie or better percentage. But you have Scotty Scheffler, Denny McCarthy. McCarthy is actually looking to be more of a play the more I look at these stats. Bronson Burgoon, Dominic Bizzelli. Again, he just got in the field because of a withdrawal. I think it was Greg Chalmers withdrawing. Maverick McNeely, a really good young player. If you're just going strictly birdie or better, I mean, I wouldn't go 100% down this route. Don't pick 6-6 golfers that hit that birdie or better percentage. But perhaps maybe 4-6, 3-6 golfers find that birdie or better, and then kind of mix it up with everyone else. But again, my bucket system later down the road or in this video should be more helpful in constructing different lineups with different players. Yeah, I wanted to just mention that quickly. And then we can also look at total birdies, just because it's good to see, what percentages we have here. Adam Long actually has the most birdies in the field right now. Birdie or better percentage isn't the greatest. Neither is his proximity or his green and reg. All of his stats are in the positive for shots gained. So it's worthy. It's worthy to look at. Yeah, I really don't have anything else to talk about for swing stats. So let's go ahead and get into the Pete Dye stats, which is kind of where I would typically have grass stats. But the grass at these golf courses it's going to be very difficult to pinpoint, because there are 3 different golf courses. Their overseed approach is going to be different. How much they overseed will be different, though, which kind of goes with the approach. I believe the La Quinta Country Club overseeds completely everything. The last time I was there, everything was green. You'll see at the PGA West Stadium course, you'll have some yellow grass in the rough. That's the Dormant Bermuda. It's like crispy grass, basically. It is the easiest stuff to hit out of. Like, the pros aren't going to have any issues with it. And then the ryegrass is just the most versatile grass that you can put on a golf course. It'll grow in any condition, and it grows basically straight up. So that's not fully true. If you brush it up and you cut it, it'll stay sticking up pretty decently. But it is kind of I wouldn't say it's a gnarly grass. It's a bunching grass, but it's not gnarly. So it's going to be easy regardless. Putts should be very simple and straightforward. And when you're in La Quinta, always putt towards the valley. Or if you're not in La Quinta, you putt towards La Quinta, because La Quinta is technically the valley. That's my local knowledge of living there for a while. So let's go ahead and look at the Pete Dye stats. We'll go ahead and look at the top overall stats. Now, as you can see, Pete Dye events, not very high for a lot of these golfers. I do like 4 events, but I don't like 2 or 1. We'll keep these guys up there just because. But Chase Seifert, I know he's kind of a favorite of some guys in the industry, and I'm wondering if it's because of this, finding the top 10, or even just the overall Pete Dye, because he didn't win a golf tournament, and I believe it was the Zurich Classic is where he actually finished top 10. So his other finish would have been, somewhere between 35, 45, something like that, which is not bad, especially for someone that's at 6,300. So definitely worth a play, I think. His stats, you're not going to see anything spectacular, but overall, pretty decent. Your first golfer is Paul Casey, that has 16 Pete Dye events under his belt. He's finished inside the top 10 and 25%. For someone that's over $10,000, that's what you're looking for to anchor your team, and I think it works wonders. And when we go to the bucket system during lineup construction, it'll show that you want to play Paul Casey just as much as you want to play Alex Noren. But Alex Noren doesn't have as many events as Paul Casey. Still finds that clip 25% of the time. Overall Pete Dye average of 35th place, which isn't the greatest, honestly. 4 events, one of them was a top 10. The rest of them to get to 35, not going to be good. I'm not sure how many missed cuts he has. Maybe I'll add that to the stats later on. But either way, Alex Noren for 8,400, I think worth the play. And then, we have a mix. Kevin Kisner is known as a Pete Dye specialist. 22 events under his belt. 35.5 is his overall average. 22.73 is his Pete Dye top 10 percentage. Again, that's how often he finishes inside the top 10 at Pete Dye golf courses. And then the other one is Russell Knox. I wouldn't even give Russell Knox that much, but he has played Pete Dye events quite a bit. 7.4, not great. 38, I mean, he is in the top 10. So, top 10 of Pete Dye stats, that is, for overall average. So, yeah, it's worthy to look into. Now, if we go to top 10, Pete Dye percentage, again, you're going to see Chase Seifert up there, 50%. He's only played 2 events, so one of them was top 10, and that was the Zurich Classic before it was a team event. I want to make sure you guys know that. It was before it was a team event, so... and it was during his rookie year. Hank Lebioda finds his way up there. 1 event out of 3, he finished top 10. Not a very good overall Pete Dye average. Brian Harmon is actually a good candidate. 25.81% inside the top 10. 31 events, so that's pretty good. 45.35 was his overall average, so that makes him kind of a volatile player at Pete Dye golf courses. But hey, man, he might be the wild card to set your lineups on fire. On fire in a good way. So yeah, something to look at. We've already went through Paul Casey, Alex Noren. KH Lee is kind of interesting. He's only played this or played Pete Dye events 4 times. 37.25 is average. His average finishing position, and he finds 25% of the time inside the top 10. That's obviously 1 out of 4. He's only played 1 or 4 events, so it's just his recent form coming into this tournament does not look good. So I would avoid, but it might be worth playing here and there a couple times. Jimmy Walker, I don't know what to make of Jimmy Walker. It's unfortunate since his Lyme's disease. He's just super inconsistent. He does look like he has times where he's like, he'll have like a hot Thursday round and you're like, wow, Jimmy Walker's back. And then you'll never see him again. He will have made the cut, but he'll finish 60th place or 50th place. It's like, man, what happened? And I don't know if he can put 4 rounds together. So I think you might want to stay away from Jimmy Walker. Kevin Kisner and Kevin Streelman. Streelman we didn't talk about. We did talk about Kisner. So Streelman, 27 Pete Dye events, 22.2%. Much like, who was it, Brian Harmon. So these guys might be your wild cards, honestly. A lot of Pete Dye events, pretty decent mark of finding the top 10. Average finishing position, kind of iffy. So definitely worth thinking about there. But yeah, that's basically all of the raw stats I can give you. We'll go ahead, get into the roster construction. So if you don't so much care for this, totally understand if you don't want to stick around. But I anticipate this is going to be kind of a long process. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the bucket system. So we'll go ahead and discuss what the buckets are by looking at the notes page. So when we look at the notes page, again, I do account every single tournament of how many golfers finish inside the top 5. And of those golfers, what were their frequency, basically, of finishing inside these ranges. A better way to explain it, or a more detailed way to explain it. So in 2019, we had 1 golfer who finished inside the top 5 for this year's tournament. And that's what this top 5 represent, this year's tournament. 1 golfer who finished first to 20th the year before, so in 2018. So if we go to the 2019 recent form page, we will see, oh, I'm fibbing, top 6. Oh, I'm not fibbing. What am I talking about? Last year's stats, this column right here. So top 5, Adam Hadwin finished inside the top 5 the year before. And I will show you that. Here he is right there. So this is 2018. He finished 3rd behind Landry and Rahm. In 2019, he finished 2nd. He is not at this tournament, or he's not at the tournament this week because he is expecting a new baby boy, I believe. But either way, last year's stats, that's how we get these the frequency numbers here, or this table of data. So as you can imagine, I do that every single year. 2013 isn't going to have a last year because I started these stats in 2013. But you will have a last week score in 2013. So last week is a bit different than last year, obviously. So last week is just looking at the week prior. Let's go ahead and just look at 2017 since it's a bit simpler. I like using the 1 to 20 stats. So in 2017, we will see 2 golfers inside the top 5 right here and right there that finished the week before in 1st to 20th place. So again, this is just a frequency table. And with this frequency, I do a count across this range and I rank them. And you can see what the count scores are right there. So you can see, you know, it's pretty close for top 5 stats. Pretty close for last week stats for the top 5. But what I like to do when I actually give a bucket number to a player is look at the top 10 stats. We're going to find more consistent stats. And we're going to be able to tell a little bit different. So as you can see, like the last year, you know, 9 and 8, pretty close. But when we come down here, 13 and 21, a bit different. So that's what helps, you know, distinguish a higher count as opposed to like a top 5. Top 5 I like using to like find, all right, how many, like what's a really consistent number? You know, I usually like to look to see if all of these equal 1 or more. That means I want to play, you know, this range or a golfer with that score. So with the last year 2, that's what I will end up adding. It'll be a last year 2 if this was all 1s, but it isn't. Same up here, the number 1 ranked bucket for the top 5 last year stats doesn't have a 1 in all of them. Pretty close, but not entirely. So it gives you a little bit of volatility, definitely to look at, but top 10 gives you a bit more consistency. And usually you want 6 golfers inside the top 10 in order to find the optimal lineup. Sometimes you'll have 1st, 2nd, 5th, 8th, and then 12th and 18th. And that's going to be fine. Sometimes you'll have 23rd and 53 or 53rd at the bottom end of it. So sometimes it doesn't matter, but I like to try to pinpoint. Now I go a step further with all of this. I will look at all the different combinations, and don't mind this stuff down here. We'll get to that soon. But here you go, 2019. Here are the different combinations. In 2018, 2017, these are all the different last year combinations with last week. So when I do this count and this rank, I will then look at every single year. Basically, you know, in 2019, I will just take, you know, these stats, I'll copy them, and I'll come over to the notes, paste them here, and then replace them with what the ranking is in the top 10 table. And that's how I do that. And then I kind of try to go and find what all, I know this for sure. If I look at all the 3-1s, I just want to find, you know, some kind of consistency. How many times am I going to find a 3-1 throughout all of the years that this tournament's been played here? In fact, I find them in 100%. So that's where this comes into play down here. As you can see, last year 1, last week 1. So here are all your last year 1s, all your last year 2s, all your last year 3s, 4s, etc. And then I put them with a last week pairing. You know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, basically. With that, what I did is I made a count. How many years dating back to 2013? First of all, how many years has this tournament been played? 6. How many times has that combination been found in an individual year? So last year 1, last week 1, we can find in 4 out of 6 years. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. If we go to 2015 and 2014, we don't see 1-1s there. So that's how we get to that 4 out of 6 number. And if I make 50 lineups, out of 50 lineups, I will have 300 unique positions open. So out of those 300, what I did is I made a count. I counted all of these, on the left side, just to, kind of, first of all, what I'm going to do, I make this into a percentage. 4 out of 6 is obviously 66%. So in 66% of my lineups, I'm going to include a last year one, last week one. I'm going to do that for most of these. Now, if I were to grab basically all of these numbers on the left, out of the 6, add them all up, I have 467 fill-ins if I were to go strictly by that. 467 is obviously greater than 300, so I'm going to have to sacrifice some. Maybe I play this 3 out of 6. Maybe I play this 5 out of 6. Maybe I only play this 1 out of 6, and that will lower my numbers. Or I just go heavy on certain bucket combinations and just stick to it. So I enjoy finding this type of information. This is where I said it's going to get weird, because now when we go to the DK page, what I've done is I've created that percentage over on the left side. So BG is just bucket group percentage. That bucket group just means what that combination is. So yeah, it's going to get weird, like I said. Now, we already went through swing stats. We already went through Pete Dye stats. What now I want to talk about is these golfers are only going to be playing in groups of 2. They're going to have celebrities with them, and it'll make it, I think, a group of 4. So it's going to be a typical round of golf for a lot of these golfers. Well, it'd be PGA players, except for 2 of them are just going to be probably god-awful. But having 2 of the same PGA player might be beneficial to look at, because they might be friends. And when I looked through all the tee times, made this tee time page over here, and I started all the ones that I like, a lot of them seem to be friends. I don't know about Phil and Tony. They just seem to be like, golfers that you'd want, to highlight or to headline TV time, basically. Jimmy Walker, Stu Cink. That's a group I think are friends. Charlie Hoffman, Kevin Streelman. Again, I think those guys are friends. They're about the same age. Some of these I don't know for sure. I wouldn't say Ricky and Francesco are, but maybe they are. Neither do I think Brian Daniel or Daniel Bryan. Brian Daniel. Jeez. It's a wrestler's name. Daniel Berger and Brian Harmon. I don't think they're friends, but Rory Sabatini and Russell Henley, they've been in the league in the tour just as long as each other, probably. Mav McNeely and Kramer Hickok, they're both young guys that probably played on the Korn Ferry Tour together. They're probably friends, most likely. Mackenzie Hughes and Nick Taylor, both Canadians. We've seen them play together before, and they've done well together. Maybe Bazzelli and Martin are. I'm not positive. I don't think Scott Piercy and Chesson Hadley are at all. Kevin Kisner and Kevin Chappell could be. And a lot of people like playing with Kevin Kisner, so maybe Kevin Chappell benefits from that. Definitely worth looking at. I wouldn't say Stanley and Putnam are. This is actually a pretty dynamic duo. Abraham Answer and Sung Jae Im. Again, nearly the same age. Played a lot of international golf together. Probably worth a look. Same with Lucas Glover and Von Taylor. They're the same age as well. And I think most likely they're friends. I don't know how these guys got paired up. If they had any kind of influence on it. It's worth the look, man. Honestly. You play with your friends, you can golf better. You can golf worse, for sure. But I think, it'll definitely play into a lot of these players' benefit to do that. Same goes with like Aaron Wise and Matthew Wolff. These guys can go low. Brendan Todd, Zach Johnson, probably friends. Charles Howell and Ches Reavie, probably friends. Scotty Scheffler and Robbie Shelton, definitely friends. So, I think this is a little bit of an edge. So when we go to the DK page and we sort by golf course, starting hole, and then tee time, we can kind of get to this 2-person group here to see all the people are playing together, and then find the percentages of these golfers that you'd want to play together, and then try to determine if you want to play any of them. Like, that's kind of an interesting, group. 63-62. I don't think that's something I'm really looking to play. What I'm more looking at is trying to find this. So finding Tony Finau and Phil Mickelson. What I will do like right away is say, yep, I will play it for sure. So I'll put Mickelson there, and I already know Tony Finau's right there. Leaves me with $7,700. That's not bad. It's actually not a bad way to start your lineups. Same thing. I'm just going to go look at all the 3-1s and try to pair them with somebody in their group. So we have Ben Martin and Dominic Bizzelli. Okay, sure. 65 and 63. That's a very, it's not a lot. So I'm going to put that like right here. That's what I usually like to do with all the low price guys, just to, make that determination. But so I know that these two are grouped together. I do believe, okay, Harold Varner. Look at this. Harold Varner and Wyndham Clark. So what I'll do here for these guys, since these guys are playing together, I'm going to do something like that. And then I'm going to do something like this. I do think one of these guys actually has a pretty decent chance to find the top 10. And Wyndham Clark might be that diamond in the rough, honestly. So I'm just going through and finding all the 3-1s and matching them with golfers they're playing with. 3-1 and a 3-2 doesn't really matter. I mean, if you wanted to go back to the notes, how often do we see a 3-1 with a 3-2? You got it right here. 3-1. I don't have a 3-2 there. 3-1. Do not have a 3-2 there. 3-1. 3-2. So 2. And now you're going to have 3. So 50% of the time, you're going to have a 2-1 and a 3-2. So it might be worth playing. Now, they might not together find the top 10, but you can start with one. And really, the 3-2 doesn't really matter. Like, I'm not really thinking of the 3-2 being that important to match with the 3-1. But just showing you that 3-2 and 3-1, that's not a big deal to pair them up. Let's see, what other 3-1s we have? Aaron Baddeley and James Hahn. James Hahn, 0%. I'm not positive. I mean, there hasn't been a 5-3, but it doesn't mean there can't be one. It doesn't happen all that often. So as we go through here again, trying to find some 3-1s, we don't see any. So really, we don't have a lot of 3-1s. And if we really wanted to, we could sort this out by looking at just 3-1s. How many are there? There are only 7. So 7 golfers in this field are just 3-1s. And then what you can do with this information, do you want to start any of these guys? For that showdown round on Thursday, I would probably put Phil Mickelson together. Like, I'd put him on a lineup for sure. Maybe Harold Varner. Who knows? Maybe put these two together. Because usually on any given day where one is hot, the other one might be as well. Most likely will be. So definitely worth thinking about. I do have these little chevrons here because I'm not positive how I feel about playing these guys. More so to do with like Jason Kokrak at his price. But Wyndham Clark altogether, I'm not positive how I feel about that. I can look at the rest of the stats and go by that. But yeah. So basically, I wanted to show you just that, the 3-1s and see what you can do with roster construction on that. If I go back to the notes page and we look at this down here, I want to incorporate this in my lineups, my lineup construction, like the percentages. So obviously I showed you all of this right here. I'll keep that there, but let's pretend, actually, let's go ahead and just put this stuff over here to make it easier to understand. And I have to do this copy paste stuff because of the formulas that I have in each of these squares. So in column D, or the first column, this is our last year 3, last year 1. What I can do is take a really conservative route. So obviously in the last 6 years, we've seen one of them. Or we've seen at least 1-3-1 in each tournament dating back to 2013. What if that doesn't happen this year? That means when we look at the stuff next year, this will turn into, I mean, there'll be 7 tournaments to look at, but this will now be a 6 out of 7. That percentage ends up being, what does that percentage end up being? I didn't even look at it. It's the only number I hadn't done yet. What is it? I'm sure a lot of you guys already know it. So 7 divided by 8. So 87% of lineups will have had a 3-1. I should say 80% of lineups. I said that last week, and when I rewatched myself, I caught it. And I'm like, what the hell? That doesn't make any sense. Of the last 7 years, 87% of those tournaments have had a 3-1. That's a better way to say it. And a 3-1 is just an individual golfer who fits that bucket, that combination bucket. Because I was saying like 87% of my lineups I want a 3-1 in, or well, that makes sense. But I would say I'd want like Justin Thomas in 87% of my 50% of lineups or whatever, and that wasn't the case. Like that didn't make any sense. So yeah, we could take this as like 87%. 3 out of 6 could turn into 3 out of 7. Could turn into 4 out of 7. So if it were to turn into 3 out of 7, that would bump down the percentage to 42%. Now, if it goes the other way and it turns into 4 out of 7, that ends up being 57%. So what you could do is look at all these ranges, actually more or less probably look at all the golfers that fit those ranges. So, 1-1 is 67% or 66.7%. I know if I were just to here, what I want to do is get rid of the sort. So now we have it back by salary. 1 out of 1, 1-1, 67%. How many 1-1s do we have, and how many do we like? Quite a bit. Like, look at all the golfers that are 1-1s. It's likely that's going to increase the number. So that's 66%. If one of these golfers finishes inside the top 10 of this year's tournament, that will then turn the whole tournament history into having 71% of golfers who were a 1-1 finished inside the top 10. No. It would be 70. Yeah, this is where I get it all mixed up. It'd be 71% of the tournaments had a 1-1 inside the top 10. If I didn't say that, or if I said that, my apologies. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. I can't remember. But either way, a 1-1. I like the chances of that happening. The other strategy you can take, if you think there's going to be a 1-1, no matter what, play it in 100% of your lineups. It's a worthy way of taking it. But if you want to take the conservative route, pick the percentage that you think is more likely. Like I'm going to do it in 71% of lineups. If you don't think a 1-1, like if you're kind of hesitant, play in 57% of your lineups. That way you can vary your lineup construction by picking a 1-1, even if you don't like any of them. Because that's the big thing in golf, in creating lineups is the whole variance, right? That's how I would go about it. So I like the 1-1s. I like the 1-1s more than I like the 3-1s. But I kind of like the narrative of the 3-1s, and that's why I like Phil Mickelson this week. He is a 3-1. He's starting at La Quinta. That's not like, I've heard people talk about this in the industry like that's a huge advantage. It really isn't. If we were to go back to like 2019, the 2019 DK page, come over here and look at the starting hole. The winner started at the Nicklaus tournament course. And then second place started at the stadium course. And then third place started at La Quinta. So And if you look at all of these inside the top 10, 1, 2, 3. 3 golfers finished at, started at La Quinta. But hold on, these 3 right here that are in 12th place started at La Quinta also. And if you go to the top 20, you're going to see more La Quinta golfers. That's fine. For these prices, you probably wouldn't have played them. Now, I get it. That's kind of whatever. That's noise, basically. I'm looking at top 10s. That's all I really care about is finding top 10s. I want to find the optimal lineup. Most likely that's going to be inside the top 10. So yeah. 2018, unfortunately, I don't have the course information of what they started at or anything like that. Let's get back to the 2020K. But either way, I like Phil Mickelson quite a bit. My next favorite would be Lucas Glover in that 3-1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually play a little less than 100% of my lineups. So if we go back to the roster construction page, if I make 50 lineups, let's go ahead and put Phil down here at 51 since this first column is used for other than players. This would indicate 50 unique lineups from here to there. Out of those 50 lineups, I don't want to quite play 100% of 3-1s, but let's go ahead and do 50 times 0.95 and we'll round down. So we'll just do 47 lineups. So all but 3. That's fine by me, honestly. I'm okay with that. Some of you guys will probably say, well, if you're just going to give up on 3, why not just go full send it? Well, I don't care. 3 lineups might have better players in them that I'll like more. But let's just do 45 lineups. Yeah, let's do 45. I like that better. So what is 45 divided by 50? 90%. So 90%, it's 3 above what the conservative play route would be, which is totally fine. So 45 lineups, we're going to have Phil Mickelson. And in all honesty, what we can do... Oh, shoot. Okay, here's the other thing. Find out your favorite player of the golfers in a 3-1. I will go back to here, and then we'll come back and we'll sort it. We'll put the filters back on it, and just find 3-1s. So we'll find 3-1s. Again, there's only 7 golfers. So let's go ahead, copy that range, bring it back over here. Of these, here, let's insert one more over here. So we'll throw them right there. Of our 50 lineups, or okay, we're going to make 45 lineups that have a 3-1 in it. Of the 45, how much do we want to play Phil? I'm feeling a bit frisky. I'm going to play him in 50%, and I'm going to round down. So we'll go 22 lineups. So Phil, I'm going to put in 22 lineups. We already have him there, and we already have him at the bottom here. So it's already 2, so we just need to put him in 20 more. That's 13, 19, 20. So we're going to throw him in 20. Now, when we look at the rest of the players, who do we like next? I actually like Harold Varner quite a bit. I want to play Harold Varner. Now, we already used 50% of that lineup. So let's say I like Harold Varner. Gosh, I almost just want to give everyone like a 10%. We can almost afford that. Not quite. So who do we like the least? I like Aaron Baddeley the least. I'm going to put him in 2 lineups. So what does 2... I just want to see it for my own sake. Okay, so it doesn't even count as a percentage. So we're putting him in 2 lineups. Lucas Glover I like quite a bit. I don't like Wyndham Clark all that much. All right, so we're going to do 5 and 5. I like that there. So 2, all right, 10, 12, 34 lineups. So Okay, that might actually be a bit more difficult than what I wanted. 34. Obviously it's 9 or 11. 11. I'm stupid. 11. So I don't like that. I don't like that ownership percentage. I do want Kokrak, Varner, and Glover and way more. So maybe I just do 2 and 2. That's fine. So now we have 28. So 17 lineups between these three. So that means we can basically put 5. So I'll put 5 here. It's almost 5 each. We'll go 6 and 6. That's what we're going to do. That equals 45. Perfect. So we'll go ahead and put Pizzelli here twice. Go ahead and put Kokrak 5 times. Varner the third 6 times. Clark twice. Here, I'm gonna do this just to make it a little faster. Oh, I suppose I already had a lot of these guys up here already. Why didn't you guys tell me? Okay, so Varner was already there. We can cut him out once. Clark was already there. Varner was twice. And Bizzelli. Alright, so here's what we're Clark, okay. And Varner was what? 2, so I need to add him in 4. Okay. Sorry, this is taking a little bit of time, but I want to make sure I get it right. I can put Kokrak 5 times since I haven't put him down yet. Already done with Clark. Glover, we have in 1, so we can put him 5 times. Playing him in 6, yep. And then Baddeley twice. So that gives us 5. There we go. So that's how I'm going to do this. And then when I go through here, since I already kind of paired these guys up, I'm just going to randomize this range with Google Sheets, which I just love. This allows me just to, mix it up. So now when I construct lineups, going forward and going down the line, I can do it however I want. I don't know what I'm looking for. We'll just keep it right there. Perfect. So there we go. I have all my 3-1s taken care of. I'm done with that range. I don't need to look at it anymore. I will start at a new range and determine, it was the 1-1s, right? So we'll go ahead, look at our 1-1s. And in all honesty, what I do want to do too is basically find, the same applies for finding who they're playing with. Like, who do I want to pair up together? Who do I think is a good pairing? Like, do I think Benan and Johnny Vegas will be a good pairing? That percentage is pretty decent together. Same with that. I mean, sure. I do like Paul Casey. I'll play Paul Casey quite a bit. But basically that's what I'll do. I'll try to find all the 1-1s. I mean, geez. I don't like Cam Champ this week, but seeing that percentage, pretty darn good. Seeing this percentage, pretty darn good. Yeah, I'll try to find all the 1-1s that I really like. And I actually have a lot of these golfers starred over here on the left side, so I can go through all my starred golfers and determine who I like out of all of them. But basically, that's where I'm going to basically leave this. I know we didn't really get into like a full lineup construction, but you guys will have kind of my understanding. So out of the 1-1, since I think a higher percentage of them are going to find the top 10, I'm going to play them in that percentage higher than 66. So I'm going to play them in 71% of lineups. So basically, I'm going to, again, clear this out, find just the 1-1s. There's a huge group of 1-1s. I'm actually just not going to copy every one of them. I don't like some of these. Ooh, that's not what I want. Ooh. You guys can tell what I was doing there, right? I don't know why I didn't. Matthew Wolf or even Kevin Chappell. I do like these golfers. I'm just gonna leave them alone. All right. So this will be a bit trickier because if I'm only making 50 lineups, right? If I go and throw them right here and determine how much I want to play of them, it's going to be a bit more difficult. Because if we throw this over here and we went that conservative route. Now, okay, here's the other thing too. How many times did we see a 1-1 in the same year? Like, did we see multiple 1-1s ever? 1-1, 1-1, 1-1, 1-1. No, we have not. We have not seen multiple 1-1s in any given year. So do we care about that? Do we think this is going to be a year that the mold gets broken? It's up to you to determine that. So when we construct lineups, if you're not thinking there's going to be multiple 1-1s, you couldn't do something like this, putting them on the same lineup. You would have to dedicate one of these columns, basically, which I have no issue doing. And now that I look at that, I want to do this. Go ahead and get rid of that. So now I'll dedicate this column to 1-1s. And I then have to determine, okay, out of 50 lineups, if only 71% of them are going to have 1-1s in them, that's a 35.5 clip. I'm going to go on the north side of that, so I'm going to make it 36. So now we're starting out with 36 lineups to figure out ownership percentage. Like if I wanted to play Casey in 20% of my lineups, it's 7.2. So I put him in 7 of my lineups. What if I like Paul Casey more than that? What if I wanted to put him in 10 of my lineups? Well, obviously 10 minus 30, well, 32 minus 10, you get the same number. It's 22. So now you have Paul Casey's already in your lineup 10 times. Now you only have 22 unique lineups to put 25 golfers in. Obviously, you're not going to, unless you do believe there's going to be a 1-1 somewhere. But you're probably going to be higher on some of these other percentages. Like I guess I'll play Finau. I'm just going to stick to that 20%. Like I do want him in 20% of my lineups. Ben An, sure. And now out of 36, this equals 19. So 17 lineups now for the rest of these guys. And I like a lot of them. This sucks. This is where I will have to like really make some cuts to do this lineup. But this is what I enjoy doing. This will be fun to do this. And maybe I play these in less than that. You know, maybe I pay 5, 4, 5. Gives me a bit more now. Gives me 5 more positions that I can put other players in, like Ricky. I'll throw in 5 lineups. I like McNeely. I'll put him in 2. I like Chappell. I'll put him in 2. I like Scheffler. I'll put him in 4. So now what do I have? That's 27. So I have 9 positions available, which I think is a bit easier now that I look at all these players. Yeah, we'll put Wolf in 3. Cook in 2. I'll up these, the ones that I like a little bit more. Horschel maybe 2. Sink 2. Now I probably went over. That's 38 lineups. You could cheat, honestly, you could. You don't have to stick strictly to the numbers. It's gonna be 38 out of 50, so that means 12 I won't have. But maybe I trim some of this, you know. Maybe I don't want to have 3 lineups of Kevin Chappell in. And Scotty Scheffler, maybe I don't want that many of him, you know, because we do want course history. That's the other thing, and I don't think Scotty Scheffler has any, if I recall. So yeah, we can come down here, look at Scotty Scheffler. I can see already he does not have course history. So no course history there. Matthew Wolff has no course history. Last year, Adam Long didn't have any course history and won, so we could take that into account. But he is the first out of many, well, 6 years to have done it, so it might not be worth playing Matthew Wolff unless you think he gets a top 3. You know, you got to take his salary into consideration. He definitely could win this tournament. Lucas Bjerregaard does not have course history. Nelson Ledesma and Vincent Whaley, no course history. Bjerregaard definitely has the firepower to do it. Yeah, some of these we could just go, I mean, Ricky Fowler doesn't have any course history. If at 11.5, if he gets 4th place, might not be worth it unless he's paired with a bunch of $6,000 golfers, which is actually something I did want to bring up. Look at all the $6,000 golfers inside the top 5. You know, it looks like you're going to want at least 2. Not super low priced. Well, I mean, Adam Long was super low priced. So definitely want some of those low 6K golfers. Maybe you find them in here. Sung You'll Know. Maverick McNeely, probably. I probably now I want to play him in a bit more. Stu Cink. Decent. But yeah, those are all things that you can look at when constructing lineups. And that's how I am going to be creating my lineups. As crazy as it sounds, like I said, it was going to get weird. And that's totally fine with me. I like that. You know, I am now going to change that to 4. I'm going to change this down to 2. Some of you guys might be yelling at me like that's entirely stupid, but that's fine. Ricky, I'm going to turn down to 4. Maybe I'll leave it at this now. That's 35. One more. I have room for one more. No, maybe I'll play one Bjerregaard just because I didn't want the fear of missing out, basically. Oh, right. Forgot there's this guy named Francesco Molinari. That's how we're going to do that. So that's how I'm going to create lineups. And I'm going to go through and I'm going to randomize the ranges like I showed you guys. That's just, again, how I enjoy creating these lineups. So with that, this actually didn't run as long as I thought it was going to. I anticipated this whole lineup construction thing and trying to discuss what these percentages were going to be. I thought it was going to be a little bit longer than what it ended up being. So I'm glad it's a little shorter. That way, you know, you guys, when you first click on the video and you see, you know, what the time frame is going to be, it's not going to be an hour 30 that I almost anticipated being. You guys won't be completely shocked or, you know, like, ugh, I don't want to watch that much. So yeah, it worked out. Hopefully this has gotten you on to some golfers. You know, pause the video. Obviously, I hope you guys know you can pause the video wherever. I try to make the font big for you guys so you can see the golfers that I'm on, the golfers I like. Hopefully, going by this percentage model here, it'll give you a bit more confidence in some players. Maybe it'll take you off some players, like the Sung Jae thing. I did say I was going to talk about that. 0%. 0% of 3-4s have made the top 10 in any of the last 6 years. Sung Jae could break the mold, but then if you think he's going to break the mold, that would move from 0% up to 7%, I believe. Is that the right number? I don't think so. 14%, I think. Yeah, 14%. So that would move that to 14%. You know, this range would then move to 14%. It's been in the top 10, 14%, within 40% of the last 6 years. Which just means 1 out of 7. If that's the case, 14% of my lineups, all of them are probably gonna have Sung Jae in them. In fact, if we look at the 3s and the 4s, I just want to look at it for my own amusement. Ooh, Abraham Answer's in it. Guess what I'm gonna do? Not play any of those guys together. Honestly, I won't play any of those guys together. They're actually playing together. So maybe I fade both of them. It sounds stupid, but you know, you have to make your stand somewhere. Anyways, I'm gonna get rid of the Minnesota goodbye and just thank you guys for watching. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Can't wait to see how you guys do and see if any of you guys actually take this on. If not, not a big deal. But I hope your screens are green, and I will see you in the review video on Sunday. All right, bye.